Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo SportsCenter. I am Don, and today we are going to be talking about everything the Buffalo Sabres did at the trade deadline. The trade deadline took place on March 7th, 2025. The deadline was at 3 o'clock, which means that after this point, no NHL teams can trade with each other until the season has concluded, which would be after the NHL Finals. That could be in late May, early June, who knows. But surprisingly, I was going into this episode and to this day, in fact, with the big expectation that Kevyn Adams and the Sabres would do nothing to shake this team. They wouldn't change anything about the core, nothing. But that hasn't really happened. So I'll get to some of the smaller moves first before I get to the big one right at the end. First off, let's talk about some extensions here. Jordan Greenway was re-signed on a 2-year deal for the Buffalo Sabres. I have to like this deal. It's a good price amount for a third liner. Some people are saying it's a slight overpay at $4 million a year, but I'm okay with it. He looks good. He brings that physical edge that the Sabres usually haven't had over this season. And, well, you know why? Because Greenway has been injured for a large chunk of this season. As long as he were to stay healthy, this is a good deal, I think, for both sides. Good deal for Buffalo. Good re-signing for Buffalo. Another good extension here is Jason Zucker. The Sabres re-signed him to a 2-year deal worth in a total, $9 million? $9.5 million at $4.75 million a season. Jason Zucker indicated that he wanted to remain in Buffalo. He had an interest in staying here, which is kind of shocking considering how the season and the organization's reputation has been over the last decade and a half. But Jason Zucker indicated, like Greenway, that he wanted to stay in Buffalo. And for the Sabres, again, this is a slight decrease on the current cap hit that Jason Zucker currently has with Buffalo. Right now, he's making $5 million. Here, he's making just shy of that. So I think this is yet again a very good number for a player that has kind of surprised me this year. He's looked really good with 18 goals and 44 points at the time of this recording. I think that for 2 more years, his veteran presence would be a good thing for the Sabres on that third line. But to have Greenway, McLeod, and Zucker for your third line is a very good combination. That's honestly one of the better third lines in the NHL. So good on Kevyn Adams to keep all those guys together. But this is the real big shocker of the day. Dylan Cozens. He's been subject to trade talk for God knows how long now. I mean, it's been every single game. Every time he underwhelms, underachieves, which has been the majority of the season, Dylan Cozens has been subject to trade rumors. And, well, it's finally happened. Dylan Cozens, folks, is going to the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Josh Norris, Jacob Bernard-Docker. And this is, wow, when I first heard about this, I was shocked that the Sabres were trading with an in-division rival like Ottawa. I mean, I hate Ottawa. They suck. And also, I'm a little surprised that the Sabres not only gave up Cozens, but they also gave up Dennis Gilbert and a second-round pick. Now, the second-round pick doesn't really trouble me all that much. It's that, well, actually, nothing really troubles me. I was so ready. I'm used to. My reflex here is to complain about this team and management. But I gotta say, Kevin, this isn't a horrible trade. Josh Norris, I think, he's got more high upside offensively than Dylan Cozens would. The only concern about Josh Norris is that he's got some major injury concerns. He's had 2 separate shoulder surgeries, and it's sort of derailed his career up to this point. But when he's on the ice, and Ottawa fans would be the first to tell you that he's been a very good top 6 center. He's got already 20 goals this year for Ottawa, and if there's anything that the Sabres need, it's a consistent top 6 center. We haven't had a consistent guy like that since probably Ryan O'Reilly, right? And I would guess Dylan Cozens for that 1 year where the Sabres almost made the playoffs. But it's been a long time for the Sabres without a top 6 guy. Josh Norris is envisioned to fill that role. As for Jacob Bernard-Docker, I would imagine that a lot of Sabres fans would hope that he could slot in next to Owen Power in your top 4 defense pairings, but I'm not so sold on Jacob Bernard-Docker as some of you may be. Bernard Docker has got issues with physicality. He's not a big defenseman, but he kind of plays the role of a defensive defenseman, which if you're taking on that role, you'd hope that guy would be physical. And when I was watching TSN Trade Center, there was a point made by the panel that the Ottawa Senators GM Steve Sayos really didn't think that Bernard Docker is that kind of playoff level defenseman. He's not that kind of guy that can keep pucks out in the playoffs. And for Buffalo, this is a team that has had major criticisms for being soft, for not being physical enough. And to bring in another defenseman like that, who I think is just a slightly better Connor Clifton, I don't know about that. I really don't know how much of an impact he's going to be making, and I certainly don't believe that he's going to be that guy next to Owen Power. The benefit for Bernard Docker is that, yes, he is a right-shot defenseman, and I guess another excuse for him not really making too much of an impact in Ottawa is that there were just a lot of guys ahead of him on the depth chart. A lot of right-shot D-men in Ottawa. They had a surplus of that. Bernard Docker was behind in the pecking order, therefore the Senators unloaded a unnecessary surplus. But Josh Norris is really going to be the question here, I think, for the Sabres. Can he stay healthy? Will his shoulder hold up? And can he drive offense on that second line? The advanced analytics say that I don't know if Josh Norris can drive offense on his own. But putting him next to Alex Tuch and Zach Benson on his two flanks, and I think you have a decent second line there. I don't think that's a horrible second line for Buffalo, and I really do hope that for Cozens and for Norris that they will benefit from these changes of scenery. That remains to be seen, though, whether or not both of these guys blossom in their new environments. But if there's something to take away from this trade, it's that it's a change of scenery for two guys that have been horribly underachieving for two teams that have been kind of in the same position now for 4 or 5 years. They are kind of mid, looking to break into that playoff race. But now they exchange a couple of underachieving players. Ottawa hopes Dylan Cozens is the kind of guy who will be able to push them into the playoffs and then maybe even win a playoff round. I don't know about that. TSN was talking, and Sens fans I've been seeing online have been talking about Dylan Cozens as if he's the next gritty, great top six line center and a 180-foot player. He hasn't been that kind of player for 2 years now. Dylan Cozens has lost his confidence. Maybe all of this changes for him. His career trajectory changes by moving to Ottawa. That remains to be seen. I'm not too hopeful on it. Sens fans are. Bless them. They can feel however they want to be. This is a new player for them. This was a major trade in a trade deadline for the NHL that was relatively quiet. So we'll see how this trade works out for both teams. But folks, there are a couple other rumors of trades maybe happening, maybe cooking up for Kevyn Adams, but it just didn't really come to fruition. Yoo-hoo, I thought I was done. I packed everything away, but Henri Jokiharju was in fact traded to the Boston Bruins. We don't know what the return yet. We don't even know if it was submitted in time before the NHL trade deadline. Darren Dreger posted it, quote, "If it got done in time, Jokiharju to the Boston Bruins." Bruins, at the same time, are sending Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers in a shocking trade. So I highly doubt that this Jokiharju addition is going to make them feel a whole lot better about their season. It looks like for sure that the Boston Bruins are waving the white flag on this season. In another corresponding move, the Sabres have traded Nicolas Aube-Kubel, a fourth liner that hasn't panned out whatsoever. They have traded Aube-Kubel back to the Washington Capitals in exchange for Eric Brandstrom, who has the former first-round pick. He's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. This is his fourth trade, I believe. He was in Vancouver, Ottawa, Washington, Buffalo. Here we come. He has not really had the NHL career he was desiring, but so the Sabres did get rid of a couple of pieces of deadwood towards the bottom of their roster. Before I start blabbering about moves that Kevyn Adams didn't make, just felt the need to pop in and say a couple more. Okay. So, bye. Now I'm done. Let's go. Bye. J.J. Peterka, there were rumors of him being shipped out to the New York Rangers. Thank goodness Peterka wasn't traded, because that would be a massive mistake. Horrible move if Kevin Adams were to do it. Apparently, Ottawa wanted a combination of Cozens and Peterka for Josh Norris. Also, thank God that didn't happen either. But nothing else really happened for the Sabres here, so we are left with just a couple of re-signings, plus that massive, massive Dylan Cozens trade where he goes to Ottawa in exchange for Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. What are your thoughts on the Sabres trade deadline moves? Did Kevin Adams improve this team? Did the team not get any better? Did he make this team even weaker? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hope to see all of you in the next video, whenever that may be. Peace.